Without further ado, let me introduce our awesome speakers today for the panel discussion. We want to make sure that it's interesting for everybody, so I'm very thrilled to have opinion from both sides of the table, from the company side and also from the freelancer side. Our first speaker is someone who represents the company side. Please help me welcome Polina Zyaparova.
Hi everyone. My name is Polina and I'm from the in-house site. I've been working for 8 years in B2B IT sphere as in product marketing. So I actually started in Haiku, Finland, where Aino is from. So a while ago, so I know something about that. And then I was working at France, integration platform, and currently I'm working at Qt Group as a product marketing lead. Yes, excited to be here, and I've been on all the spectrums of being an in-house. Like a while back, I was a lonely marketer with very small budget, and then being in a medium-sized team, and then being in a very big teams, 40 plus people, and then the processes there happen very, very differently. So yeah.
Great to have you, Polina. Would you share with us one fun fact about yourself?
Well, 70% of photos on my phone is screenshots of LinkedIn posts and landing pages, and do I remember them all? No.
Do you see them again after taking the screenshot?
I take the screenshot again when I see it.
Thank you so much. Great to have you with us, Polina. Our second speaker is very special. She represents actually both the client side and the freelancer side, because she used to work in-house while also offering consultation services. And now she is specialized in providing marketing consultation service. I would love to introduce Saila Marin.
Thank you so much.
Could you tell us a bit more about yourself, Saila?
Yes. I worked in marketing and growth for more or less 10 years. And as Quinn said, I've worked on the both side of the table. So I've been in different in-house roles, in startups, in scale-ups and other companies. But as well, I've had my own side hustle for almost 10 years as well. And there's been times that I've been only doing my freelancing thing. And I think once I had more or less 6 clients or 7 clients at the same time, but I wouldn't do that many anymore. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to focus when you do that. Was there anything else that I wanted to mention? I've also bought quite a bit of freelancer services from Freelancers, not only marketing but also web development, design, etc. So I have experience from being on the both side of the table. Yeah. And currently, at the moment, I have a few clients on my freelancer side, and then I'm building something new that I can't tell too much about yet. But stay tuned for that. Happy to be here.
Good to have you with us, Saila.
Thank you.
Have a seat. And our last but not least speaker, representing the freelancer side, please help me welcome Jessi Christian.
Hi. Nice to see that so many people actually came. Hi, I'm Jessi Christian. I'm originally from Germany and have lived now in Finland for 8 years. I have had my freelancing business for 6 years now, but I only started working full-time as a freelancer in November last year. So kind of similar to Saila. I have also hired freelancers. I have also worked in-house in marketing, never for an agency. And so at the moment I have around 5 to 7 clients. I think I'm quite fully booked, which is really nice. It's kind of a luxury problem, as everybody tells me. And I work primarily with clients who work in the B2B or B2B2C markets and who want to grow in the DACH region. Yes.
So we're gonna start with I have some questions just to guide the discussion. It's gonna be very casual, and in the end, let's spend maybe 10-15 minutes for you all to ask our panel questions as well. My first question, especially for Saila and Polina, is that how do you know when you need to hire a freelancer? So what are the things that go to your mind when you decide that, okay, for this kind of project or for this kind of task, should I hire an agency? Should I hire somebody to work in-house, or should I go to a freelancer? So would you walk us through the criteria, the views, or your ways of thinking to make this decision?
Yeah.
Polina, maybe you can start.
Well, I think it all comes from the type of the company you're representing. If it's a smaller company with a small team, or a bigger company with many people, because then it will define your decision. Because when you're like a bigger company, you most likely have all the key roles filled already. And then when you want to choose a freelancer, it's to speed up the process and increase the volume of production, for example, the production of blog posts, social media, or of ads and something. But then if you're from a small company, you actually want to fill in a function, because if you don't have a person. And then it's about filling the gaps, the missing parts, not speeding up. So then that's why it's like, it depends on that. And then I would say the freelancers, how I see them, it's a very specialized, like focused role. For example, I need a graphic designer or an SEO specialist. So, and I would search for this type of people, and they don't need to cooperate much cross-functionally with my company. Like they don't need to be with R&D or product management or sales people and content, because then it gets like very complicated to bring this freelancer in. And then with the agency, if there is a bigger scope, a campaign, a market entry, something like long-term and strategic, and the agency has those different talents. And they can, like, as a team, collaborate, like an extension of our brain. Yeah, then I would choose the agency. So it all comes from our needs and projects and our current team and what we can do or cannot do. So.
Yeah, but I think that it also comes down to what you actually prefer, because you said that if you have a strategic need, then you might pick an agency. But I've worked with brilliant freelancers, like really good ones. So you might be able to get the same, strategic guidance or, I don't know, super expertise from freelancers as well. So I think it comes down to what you actually prefer. That was like you mentioned that like you could work with freelancer to fill in the gaps. Another way, maybe for a smaller company, could be that, let's imagine you start as an in-house marketeer and you start setting things up and testing and finding things that you can start scaling. Let's say SEO, for instance. You're like, okay, there is something here, there's potential. I don't have enough resources. My hands are tight. You might use freelancer for that. So you already identified an area that most likely is going to grow and is going to be profitable for you. Then you use freelancer for that service. And maybe, like, for instance, I've been in a situation which there was a freelancer doing content marketing, case studies, etc. But at the point when the cost of using freelancer was becoming more expensive or bigger than actually hiring someone in-house, then we thought, okay, maybe now we should hire someone in-house, because it can be the fact as well, like if you have something, content, case studies, whatever, that the need is growing and the costs are growing, then you might want to hire in-house in that case. And when it comes to the agencies, as I said, I think it comes down to like preferences. But for instance, with the brand renewal projects are something that I might use a brand agency for. And also, if you know that you're going to have more needs, when you pick an agency, you can, if you have a very good client or account director or someone that is like your contact person from the agency, you might not necessarily need to brief all the individuals there, but you can just speak to your client, the account director, and they take care of the briefing, and you can buy more stuff from that one company. So maybe those things come to my mind.
I think it's quite interesting what you both shared in terms of testing something new, that you have some certain in-house knowledge that, hey, this may work for us and how do I speed it up by adding a freelancer. And then once you test it and see that, hey, we get a lot more result from having somebody who add in more work, but now it's getting too expensive to actually paying somebody external to do it, then you change from a freelancer to an in-house person.
And of course sometimes you also have like single projects. You need to get your analytics done or the setup corrected or fixed or whatever. That's also a very good place to use freelancer because they can be super flexible, typically quite quick. So that's also a specific spot when I would work, or I've worked with freelancers.
I love how you also highlight the benefits of using freelancers, that is really quick and easy to set up compared to an agency. I come from agency as well, and we have some agency people there, and agency tend to take some time to audit and get to know you, so they may charge you, depending on the agency, 10 to 40,000 euros just to get to know you before they deliver any actual value. So in that sense, that's a benefit of working with freelancer. They don't normally charge you 10 or 14K just to get to know you.
And of course there are also different types of agencies. Like there's also, I can imagine you're not like a huge, slow corporation, but that reaction says it. But when you like compare to traditional agencies, big agencies and freelancers, that's the setup for sure.
In terms of identifying the areas, when would you go to the freelancer? We know from Jessi that content seems to be something that Jessi is busy with many clients. So obviously, content marketing, writing blog posts is something that people tend to go to freelancers. Other than blog posts, what else do you provide, Jessi?
So I think it's quite similar to what Saila said, because I do have clients who come to me and they're like, I need this, I need it done, like, do
Yesterday.
it. And ideally yesterday. So it's like, I do a lot of localizations, website localizations, for example. And then a blog post is like a very typical gig that a freelancer does. But then I also have clients who know that I can think very well strategically. So with them, I work on a level where I do not only create, but I also give like insights and suggestions and recommend we should do this or we should do that. And so that means, for example, like I have one client right now, Jubila, who's downstairs. I work for them 20 hours a week. And I'm doing a consulting gig for them. So like what I do is I analyze where they are in the DACH market, like what is going well, what is going not so well. And then I build like my recommendations based on that. And then of course, ideally, if you're a freelancer, that means that you're gonna implement them on some level. Some things you can't because it's just not your expertise. It's, you know, like, you can't solve it yourself, but ideally it's like, okay, here's what I would recommend and now I'm gonna do it. Like one of my other clients, Plug Surfing, they're doing a website change, and so I suggested, okay, let's do a website audit, let's check the SEO, and then once the audit is done, I'm like, okay, well now I can take over, for example, the website structure, I can do your internal linking, you know. And then somebody in-house can do like the content, for example.
Okay, I think it's such a refreshing thing to hear, because I think it's very important to be like proactive, that you're not just doing tasks, you know, not like writing the blog post you told me and I've done that, but actually to be one step ahead and being proactive and like talking about the best practices and your insights that you're analyzing, you're always like giving more information. I think it's very nice that you're being proactive.
Yeah, maybe one thing to mention is depends on the client, because some clients don't need, you know, because they have their strategy, they have it figured out, you know, and they primarily just need like a tool, you know, and I think that's fine. Like for me, I really like that I have that variety in my clients. I like that some hours I spend on strategy thinking, but then some hours I do like just a blog post and I'm like, okay, I've done this a million times before. So it's nice as well. And I think both is valid, like, yeah. as I think Saila or Polina, you also mentioned, like, depends, right? Yeah.
So now that we have some ideas or suggestions from our speakers when you would consider a freelancer versus agency versus hiring body in-house, let's dig a bit deeper into freelancer, which is the topic for today. So you know that you need a freelancer for a project, for a gap, or for an area. Where do you go about to find these freelancers? Maybe we start with Saila. Where do you find your freelancers?
Yeah, the thing is, like, it's all about the network. Like, I don't know. Of course, you have different platforms. You have different groups, such as Markkinointikollektiivi is a good one. You also marketeers as well. And of course, you can, for instance, post on LinkedIn that you have a need. But like the majority of how I've picked a freelancer and how I've gotten my clients is through the network and word of mouth. So that's maybe something that people should invest in it.
Networking.
Yeah.
How about Polina? Where did you find your freelancers?
Well, I have some like unconventional ways.
Tell us more about those.
Actually, like one of the most like fruitful collaborations I've had is with people from the recruitment process. The ones from like top 3-5 candidates that already got to know the company, but for some reasons like it wasn't a match. But then if they were also like freelancers on a side, they would approach, because we already had like so many discussions with them, so they already know the inside and outs of our situation. So otherwise they would approach and be like, oh hey, well I totally understand, but I see there is the gap. Would you want me to solve that? Or we like really like them and we would like approach them, oh hey, like this is the situation, but would you be interested to do this like gig for us? So then yes, well, it doesn't mean that you need to now inflate the pipeline of recruiters, but that's definitely one of like the hacks people from the recruitment.
Yeah, I agree with that one, because it's been my experience as a freelancer. Like I have applied for jobs and they're like, oh, like in the end, like recently, for example, I applied for a job and then they restructured. So the position was void, didn't exist anymore. And they're like, hey, but you can do this job as a freelancer for us, right? Or like some of my clients are also companies that I've worked for before, right? So yeah, it does work. And yeah.
Okay, so we have two ways how companies seem to find their freelancer: networking, like event like today, or then going to your hiring pipeline to see if the people you talk to.
Yeah, maybe can I add one more? Because like we talk about personal branding, and there's been also cases that I've been, seeing these constant posts from certain person on LinkedIn or on Instagram as well, or TikTok, whatever. And then because they've been building their personal brand and what they do and what they're good at so well that when I actually have the need, they are on top of my mind. So I've also contacted freelancers in that way. So maybe that's something that you could also consider.
That's a really good point. Actually, Saila used to be in another panel a year ago. And
2 years, no?
Oh, 3 years, wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, but we have another speaker that she was saying the same thing. She's a fractional CMO. And she was saying that she's very good at personal branding on LinkedIn. And the way she does it is that she provides free advices for founders how to handle marketing and what she can add value, mainly educating. And she shared that she got somebody to message her a year after a post and said that, hey, I saw this post from last year, or I've been following you, and now I have a need for a fractional CMO. So that's really good point that for the shy people who are not comfortable going to in-person networking, being visible on social media like LinkedIn does bring benefit as well. And if I remember correctly, the F company, the CEO of the F company is also very vocal about how much real revenue the F company has been getting from the CEO posting things on LinkedIn. So really valid point.
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to now you know where to find the freelancer, and imagining that we are at the very beginning of this relationship with the freelancer. Let's talk about how do we set up the strong foundation to make sure that this partnership between the company and the freelancer would work in the most effective way. If we talk about the very famous and controversial topic, I believe the agency team can also relate to the brief. So maybe let's talk from the company side that when you set the goal, what you want from the freelancer, and when you send the brief to the freelancer, what kind of things do you often put in the brief, and what kind of things do you often leave out from the brief, and is there any reason why you don't include some sort of things in the brief? Polina, would you like to start?
Well, actually, I feel like we skipped one point, like the onboarding,
Right.
like how this happens.
Right.
But yeah, I think with the brief, it's very important to agree on the terms and manage expectations that we talk, say things very easily. For example, the demand generations, performance marketing. Like in-house, we are very busy. Like for example, for the ABM, we will just send you like the list of companies, like copy paste in the Slack. But then maybe the agencies, the freelance expectation, oh, I'm gonna get an Excel sheet just to upload it directly to LinkedIn. And then there's the question whether the agency or the freelancer just will do the Excel transfer by themselves and then keep it silent and like more time, or they would confront like the in-house person and be like, oh, actually that's not the format that I need. Please come back to me with like a proper Excel sheet, not this copy pasting in Slack. So that's why as a freelancer, as an agency, you kind of also need to protect yourself and set up the expectations. Okay, for this project, that's what I need to succeed. And then also in the in-house, like when you evaluate your client, okay, is it like an established company? Is it a startup? Is it something in between? How mature they are? Can I expect from them to send me their personas and market research? Do they have like, I don't know, colors, brand colors and messaging, or like the tone of voice? Maybe they don't have it. And then it's up to you be like, okay, should we figure out together? Like, what do we do? Do I have the creative freedom then to come up with something myself? Like, do you care? Like, is it a bottleneck? Yeah, and then it's about, and then the easiest, like the best way is like to decide all that like at the beginning and then see if you can work with that end. Because then if you don't discuss it, then your project, the delivery is not so good. And then there's a frustration, miscommunication, then, oh, okay, it's not working out, but then in reality, maybe at the beginning it was set already, like up to kind of
Failure.
50% of failure. Yes.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned small detail, like what format do I get the data from? Can be a frustration for both sides. The client side maybe that like you can put that to an Excel, and then the freelancer would be like, well, it takes my time, but you pay for my time to put that raw data into an Excel. So I think that small detail like that could make or break the relationship in the beginning.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, do I just do it by myself and I don't charge them and keep it to myself, or am I being actually vocal about that? So what do you do? Like, that's like you need to have this, conversations and approach, like personal like relationship with the customer, get to know them and learn your ways.
Yeah. So clear expectation.
Yeah.
Saila, how about you when in the beginning setting up this relationship with the freelancer from both sides?
Such an interesting topic. Well, first of all, it's funny because I actually, if I was a client and my freelancer that I just started working with would be like, okay, so you sent me, because I could be the person like super busy sending over stuff in, I don't know, Slack. Just figure it out. I wouldn't necessarily appreciate if they were like, oh, okay, so it's in the wrong format. What do I do now? I want them to solve my problems. So I don't care if they take half an hour to put it in the right format. Of course, I'm going to pay that about that. Or, well, as a freelancer, I might do that and not charge, because especially in the beginning of the relationship, you want to build trust and you want to show the value. So I don't know. It's funny that you mentioned the details, because I think like I wouldn't necessarily care about them. But as a client, like be transparent. Say like be clear about what you need. What are your expectations? when do you need it, and how do you measure it. I think those are like some key things that you can already do well if you have those sorted out. And also, of course, you ask like what information would you share and what would you leave out. Of course, you don't need to share every single detail, but if you are afraid of sharing information, sign an NDA. I really don't understand the thing like, oh, we need to keep these strategic focus areas on ourselves. Who cares? Like, seriously, people think too much about their companies. Like, no one cares about your strategic or marketing strategy, seriously. But it makes the work of the freelancers so much easier because they are able to understand the big picture, unless it's a small detailed geek. Of course, they don't necessarily need to know the full strategy to be able to do that well. But to actually to form or to start a relationship in which you both can thrive, be transparent with the information. And also, and this comes down to, you can be either the client or the freelancer, and I've experienced this myself. If you have a strange feeling in the let's say the briefing discussion, you're like, okay, this is either too good to be true, they're not asking any questions, there is a strange vibe, it's better to address it right away. Like, even if you're like, I'm going to figure it out. It's way better, because then you might, end up in different situations. So trust your gut feeling. If you have a strange feeling about something, address it. Especially in Finland, people are quite straightforward, so you can address them even as a freelancer quite directly, and they most likely appreciate it. So yeah. Sorry, so many different things. I feel passionate about this.
That's why we're happy here. Then I have a challenging question to Polina and to Saila. Do you ever decide not to work with a freelancer when you meet, whether online or in person, and the vibe is wrong or the gut feeling so that something is off? I'm not sure that I can trust this person. Did that ever happen to you? That you would say no to a freelancer after you have vetted them?
Do you want to start?
I really need to think. Well, I think maybe in some cases I can be cautious, like if they have like exactly the industry experience, if there's no like direct experience and you're like, okay, should I go or should I not? And then you're kind of waiting, but then you can always send like a task and like see how we do this, and then okay, maybe that's not a problem, because then it's about the framework, how to implement it, and maybe the industry or like the niche might not be so important. But I think the overall like approach, like how you do the project management, like maybe I would expect also like the freelancer or the agency be like proactive in that sense, that okay guys, this is what we'll be doing, and then we will evaluate the results and the learnings. We have like a retro meeting, and then we set up with you like more like the next sprint, like next set of tasks. So but then maybe if the freelancer or the agency says like, oh well, let's see how it goes, no pressure, just send me the tasks, guys. And then maybe okay, it's like in some structure. So that's would be my feeling, like as a company, I need structure. I need to make my life easier. I don't want to spend my time, hours of managing and giving them the structure and project manage them. So maybe the project management skills, if I see that they have it, or if I see it's lacking.
That's a good one. Yeah, the way that I typically work is that I have few different options that I compare. So I brief them, and then they in return say something about the project. So that's a way, like quite often you're already able to identify when you compare the different options, like okay, I'm going to pick that one. So you kind of avoid starting working with someone that you don't like. And then another thing is to do a pilot. It can be a pilot month or a project, whatever. So basically you use that to evaluate how we work together. So yeah, and of course there's been maybe some times that we've done, I think there was a translation project with one freelancer years ago, but it came down to having unclear expectations, or we weren't, the briefing wasn't good enough. So the person didn't know what was expected from them. And that's why we didn't continue working together.
Okay, so in that particular example, Saila, what would be, if you can come back to the briefing stage of that particular project, what would you have done to hopefully improve the end result?
It was ages ago, to be honest. But yeah, I would have been clear about what I need, when, and how do I measure. We were in a rush trying to, we assumed that's something that you should never do. We assumed that the person understood the assignment.
Right.
So that's why I said that if you have a strange feeling during the first meeting, like, okay, there's something missing, or I don't understand this fully, or the person is not asking questions, address it right away. You can avoid shitty stuff.
Actually, I think now about the briefing, I was thinking that it's very important to agree on the creative freedom. Do I want an agency freelancer just to follow what I give them? Or they would have like some room to wiggle and suggest something new. If it's like a graphic design or like in the messaging, and like propose like several versions. To clarify that. And also to protect the freelancers. To agree on the amount of revisions, because
that's a good one.
Then you can be stuck for like months and months.
Nitty gritty. Move that a little bit there.
That's something I also I ask when I work with the agency, that how many times can I ask?
Indeed.
Jessi, we would love to hear from the freelancer.
When you said with revisions, I'm like, yes, I have very very clear guidelines. And I didn't start with that. Like some people here I know are starting out. I didn't start with very like clear guidelines, right? Like this is now after 6 years. I'm like, take it or leave it, you know. Like when you said like, oh, I would do it for free. I don't do anything for free anymore unless it's like onboarding of like, you know, like a sales call, you know. But if somebody sends me a very short brief, then I charge them for figuring it out. Like I charge most of my clients by hour. And so if they send me like very, very short, then I charge them for the time it takes me to figure out like, okay, what do you want to achieve? Like, who is this for? You know, like all of this is my time that it takes to research this. But that's like, as I said, most of my clients I work with on an hourly basis. But then I do also charge by projects. And I think that's something we come now into pricing as well. If you're a freelancer, like think about how you do your pricing accordingly, because then you can price that in. You could be like, okay, like, you know, some clients, I have to put like a buffer in, so to say, you know, and like, don't charge in the way like in an ideal world it would only take this many hours, but charge in a way like I have a little bit of a buffer for communications, for admin, you know, like for all of these things. That's what I do when I go project based. But even with a project based, like my blog posts are usually project based. So then I say, okay, this is my process. You send me the brief. I send you an outline. You give me feedback on the outline. Then I send the finished product, and then we have 2 revisions. No one has ever asked for more. No one has ever needed more, but it's still good that it's there, that you say it's 2 revisions. Because that also kind of leads you as a person hiring the freelancer to be like conscious, like to be like, okay, this is now my first revision. I'm going to take time. I'm going to look at it. And like, I'm going to make sure that I checked. And then like feedback is implemented. And then like the second chance to take a look, okay, is it implemented correctly? Does it look good? You know? This is particular for blog posts. It can, of course, be very different if you work, for example, with website design. There usually a lot more revisions are necessary, you know. But like with this process that I have, usually the customer, since they approved on the outline, there's not going to be a huge shock in the final product, you know. But yeah, when it comes to briefs, as I said, like I've seen everything from like 5-page briefs for one blog post. With like brand voice, we say this, we don't say this. Here are all the keywords. This is the outline I have imagined. This is the ICP. And then I've gotten like
3 sentences. Not even sentences, bullet points.
Classic.
Which one do you prefer?
I wouldn't even say like which one do I prefer, because sometimes it's nice if like the person gives you the kind of creative freedom. But then you also have to live with the fact that you give the creative freedom, right? Like then it's like you can't complain if it's somehow different from what you imagined. And then also like I do have clients. A lot of my clients work in very technical jobs, so they know that I'm the expert in what sounds good. Like they know that I know content marketing. So like they trust me that if they send me even a short brief that I can turn it into something. And so then I don't even think it's like per se necessary to have such a like long brief. But once again, I charge for figuring it out. Like I charge for sitting down and analyzing, and like I just did a advertorial for one of my clients, and they gave me the brief was this is the magazine. This is not even the topic they wanted to be about. This is the magazine. This is the topic of the magazine. It's a print magazine, and I need it by then and this many characters. Yeah, and like yeah, some of you are like what? But I'm like okay, fine. And then I ask like cool, can I speak to like people in your team? And they're like of course you can. And like then it's not a problem, because I can just interview some of their, like usually I interview engineers, or sometimes I interview the sales team, but just like for me to understand, okay, what could be an interesting angle to this topic, right? And then I sit down and I analyze the magazine. So I look at the magazine, I see what is the tone of voice in this magazine, I see how are other editorials in this magazine, but all of that is paid. Like and I understand, like if you're busy, your day is full of stuff, you don't want to worry about these things because it's not your job. So then like it's great to have a freelancer to just say, here are these things, like figure it out. But like you need to have that kind of person who enjoys that. I enjoy it, and I know that it's not the case for every person. So yeah, that's honestly the truth, is like both are fine as long as I think there is the willingness to, as you said, like offer more information. I have an NDA with most of my clients. It makes the work a lot easier. So yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that setting clear expectation in the beginning is very important. And then like Saila mentioned, that also talking about how do we measure the result, so that everybody is clear what we are trying to achieve. And then agree on also on the project management, that how do we communicate, how often do we meet, what is the system we use to communicate, is that Slack, is that email, is that both, is it something else?
Yeah, just get to know the way of working of the client and try to integrate into that.
I would love to end the official discussion with one question for each of you. What would be your top one tip, either from the company side or the freelancer side? What would be the one tip for the audience, how to work with freelancers? Can
I go first? So like as a client, I think this applies to basically any relationship, but when you work with freelancers, treat them like they were part of your team. Like this simple mindset makes it so much easier. Like trust them, treat them well, and the results will follow. I think that's one thing.
Yeah. Trust them and then treat them well.
Yeah.
The tip for freelancers: think of how you package your services and be very focused. I actually think there's for me, this is a recent trend that freelancers are really approaching as a company. So they would have the packages. For example, I'm doing SEO or content creation, 5 blogs per month, one meeting, 1 weekly, 15 minutes. So it's a clear package. Or they would also adopt a credit strategy like, okay, you're paying for like 25 credits, and 25 credits include 1 blog post, 1 white paper, 5 social media, for example. So, and then for the client itself, it's like very easy to understand, like, okay, this is the person I could come for this certain tasks, and this is the relationship, this is the structure, I'm paying for that, this is the deliverable. So rather than just being like, oh, marketing freelancer, what do we do? I need now to think what I need to do with this person. Yes, and the overall tip for like collaboration from the company perspective, really think of the onboarding process and prepare all your internal materials, like what you can share, all the documentation as much as possible. Because I've seen too many times when you hire an agency and then you don't have like enough, and then everything's like super stagnant and you don't know how to move. And then if the onboarding is done like very poorly, then it's like 50%, maybe it's all gonna fail. So really also as an agency, like push on good onboarding, ask questions. Yeah, really good point.
I forgot the tip for freelancers, but you inspired me. One thing, and this can be a rookie mistake, but I found myself doing this, and I'm like, okay, Saila, you're better than this. As a freelancer, if you realize during the brief, for instance, that the client has unrealistic expectations, say it right away. Like, this is not doable, because especially if they don't work in marketing themselves, they don't know how much time, how much effort certain things or budget certain things take. So you make your life way easier when you say that right away.
Yeah, so you remind me of this typical ask from a CEO to marketer that make this post go viral.
Viral, indeed. Yeah, same thing, more or less.
Yeah, but I think it's very true. Like, you need to know who orders you. Is it like a C-level business person? Is it a CMO? Or is it like an in-house graphic designer who is talking to a freelancer agency graphic designer? So then you address them differently.
True.
Yeah. Jessi, how about you? What do you advise the company?
Yeah. Maybe I'll do it like one company tip. One company tip is make sure when you onboard your freelancer, they meet everybody that they will have to interact with. Because my experience is I work primarily in the DACH market. So often I'm hired by a Finnish person or like somebody who works for the Finnish company. But then they have a DACH team. And like I meet them, then like I'm thrown in. It's like, oh, this is now like Timo, and I'm like, well, I've never met Timo, so like we haven't built like a rapport. Like he doesn't know me, you know, and that can lead to friction usually because like, oh, who's this new person? What are they doing like in my document? What are they doing in my Excel spreadsheet? Whatever. So like if you're onboarding a new freelancer, always make sure they meet the people that they will be working with, because it makes such a big difference. Even just a quick video call, like, hi, this is me, I'm a person, you know. As you said, treat them like people, like it's like a new team member. So, you know, you would also meet your new team members, you know. And then for the freelancers, I think one thing that I kind of had to learn the hard way is you're not gonna invoice 40 hours a week. It's kind of impossible. Like you can try,
unless you work 80.
Yeah, like I can tell you because I've had a month now where I'm gonna invoice now pretty much 40 hours every week this month. But I've worked weekends and nights, right, to end up here. And I do not recommend. So like, even when you're setting up your pricing, if you're thinking about like, you know, how much am I going to charge for a project? Think about the fact that you're not working 40 hours invoiceable. So, you know, be mindful of that, especially if you have hourly rates. And the other thing that kind of goes hand in hand is make sure you track your hours. And then at the end of the month, kind of check if you work project-based, how much did I thought this would take me? How much did it actually take me? And then take action accordingly. because I had to learn quite early on that I was quite optimistic, as I tend to be, that, oh, I can do this super fast. And then you realize like, oh no, this took me so many more hours. And then I updated my pricing because I'm like, you know, I can't work all of these extra hours for free. So yeah, I think that's a big one.
Thank you, Jessi. Super well practical. I love everyone for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing your very valuable insights. Do we have any questions coming from the audience or our speakers? So first hand here.
I have a question that I think can be for both sides. I was wondering, as a freelancer, you have, of course, specific areas where you, like your area of expertise, let's say. When you have a client that asks for a bit more and you think you're capable of doing it, but a bit uncertain if it's not your expertise, but how do you go about it? As a company, do you prefer to have that honesty of I can do this part, but this part find someone else? And as a freelancer, do you risk then losing possibly the account, or how do you set your own limits, let's say, especially when you start and you want to kind of prove yourself?
Very challenging question.
Yeah.
I'd be transparent. I'd say that. Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I think I can help you with that, but being honest, that's not my specialty. We can work together, or I know some great specialists in that area, so I can, because then you kinda, they start trusting you more. They're like, okay, they were honest about this, and most likely they want to continue working with you, and etc. So I would say it right away.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Always like give a solution. To
That's a good
clients.
one, yeah.
I think it's also interesting from the sense that you don't know what they need, so maybe what they need at that point is just somebody who knows more than they do. But they have to be an expert because what they need is quite simple, and they already with you and you already know the company, so it's made easy. So that I just need the basic SEO setup. So your basic knowledge of your level is already more than what I know. So please do it. But then they do appreciate. Okay, then if they get something more advanced, then you have somebody else that you can work with. So they also appreciate that.
I mean, one thing to keep in mind, like with my clients, most of them I've worked with now for long periods of time. So that also means I'm really worked into their topic. Like I understand their company, I understand their strategy and so on. So, you know, sometimes like a topic comes up and I can be quite transparent, like, oh, I haven't done this exact thing before, but like, I can figure it out, you know, which it often is in marketing, you know, if you work in-house, you figure out a lot of stuff. So can a freelancer. And that can sometimes, like if you think about it, even from an in-house perspective, having to onboard a new person, having to explain everything to them, like sometimes is more expensive than saying like, okay, well then you take a
stab.
Yeah, exactly, take a stab at it. And and once again, like I think I know enough. It doesn't always, not everybody needs like an SEO expert, even when it's like an SEO topic. Yeah.
Exactly. And they typically want to buy, like the funny thing is that if you work with a company, they don't want to buy from anyone else. Like they want to buy from you, and if you can't do it, if you can like you know, connect them to a person that you know, it's good. So
Thank you.
So, like, as someone who's sort of making a career pivot from engineering to like content creation and marketing, I want to know like how much experience in the marketing industry does one need to like become a freelancer? And like a follow-up is like you were talking about how you know those posts make people, you know, come to your mind and whatnot. I'm someone that has been visible on LinkedIn, and I guess in that sense, that comes with some level of, you know, copywriting to be able to be successful in that. How much is that worth in that career transition?
wow,
Yeah.
difficult question. or questions?
I think this is super valuable actually that you're coming from the engineering, because right now I think the developer marketing is becoming a big thing, especially like in IT B2B, when you need to create content for other like engineers, architects, developers. And I think as just a person purely from the business marketing, it is quite challenging to produce content at the technical level
Exactly.
that would resonate to this type of audience. So I think usually we would be like collaborating closely, like R&D, product managers, for them to proofread and do sanity checking.
Yeah.
But I think you have such a strong competitive
Yes.
edge in you. Yes, and then you could be starting just from like proofreading into like sanity checking, and then you can start producing your own content. But definitely this is like very unique, because there is like I feel like there's not many
No,
engineers in IT.
but they are
people that
needed.
would-
They are needed for sure.
Yes.
So 100% what she said. Like,
You're
absolutely
sold.
agree. Yeah.
So
Yeah, but you just need to communicate in that
Yeah.
way. Like, okay, I understand the audience. Like, I really do.
Mm.
So there's a perfect opportunity.
So
Absolutely.
does it mean that you're saying like a lateral transition in the sense that work as an engineer and try to move towards comm in a company?
I would say that maybe if I'm gonna generalize it for everybody, not just for you, is that it's about finding your niche.
Yeah.
That what is it unique about you, your background, and the value you can add. In case of Jessi, for example, the way that I understand your niche is that you know Dutch market, you speak the language, and you are in Finland.
Yeah.
So you know
Yeah.
the Finnish ways of working. So people in Finland feel comfortable with working with you.
Yes.
They don't have to be in Germany. But they trust that you know the market. So that's your niche.
Yes. You know, one of my clients, it's one of my clients, when I started working with them, like the first couple of times, they were like, I'm so happy I found this unicorn. And I was like, I've never been called a unicorn before. It was so nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yes, because of course, like there are not that many German-speaking senior marketers in Finland who can come to your office, but that understand like the Dutch market, and that like, you know, can be a connector. Like sometimes I feel like I'm literally a translator. Like, yes, I translate a lot of content, but I also translate like for the Finnish teams often. And so like if you have found that niche, like it's so easy to sell, like, or you know, I don't even do a lot of sales. Like people usually search for somebody like me. And like in your case, I actually work with a lot of engineering companies. And I usually come from the other side. I don't know engineering, then I'm trying to figure it out and turn it into content. So I always have to ask an engineer, can you proofread this, you know? And so I think it's quite valuable. But like going back to the, how do I start freelancing then, right? I think one big aspect of this is then pricing, because you are a career changer, right? So like pricing should kind of showcase that. And then the other question is like, who is then like your ideal audience that you think is both willing to kind of have a career changer, but then also that values things like, good performance on LinkedIn, for example. So I think like thinking about it a bit from a strategic perspective, like who are these companies that are interested to work with somebody who is just starting out. And I think you shouldn't undersell yourself, because you know you have reached like very good numbers on LinkedIn, for example. But then also who appreciate your unique expertise.
So startups.
Yes.
No, but the thing is, it depends on how you phrase it, because I might not talk about I'm a career changer. I would highlight the fact that you know how to speak to engineers and you have that strong background, and that's combined with your marketing knowledge.
Yeah.
So I would try to rephrase it in that way.
Literally like any tool you would buy as an engineer or you would be using in your work as an engineer are your potential clients who do marketing.
And then your other question was about LinkedIn and how the impact of it. I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, I was asking like how much is that LinkedIn success worth in terms of freelancing?
It's such difficult. It really depends. It
Yeah.
depends on your situation. But especially if you don't have, because I'm relying on my network quite a bit. So maybe, well, don't go to my LinkedIn, it's horrible. Like, I haven't done anything that I'm preaching about, seriously. But that's why, because I know that, okay, yeah, maybe I don't need to invest, or I'm stupid not to invest in this so much because I have the network. But if you don't, for instance, know the business decision makers as well, then you might put more emphasis on that, especially if you're already good at it. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All the
you
lovely
for the
answers.
good questions.
And also but whatever you can measure is always great. So like even if it's your own LinkedIn profile, but if you can showcase, I've reached this many impressions, these kind of engagement levels, like that is meaningful to a business, you know.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like overall with this like employer branding or like social selling, when companies are distributing their posts to like their employees and growing their LinkedIn. So it is a heavy task. And the fact that you like on a personal page you grew it, then applying those techniques for like companies' pages or like the employees of our companies, it's very transferable.
You can also offer the service of teaching them,
Yes.
CTO, how to be a influencer. on LinkedIn,
Exactly.
the way
So true.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's great.
Yeah. Because you know them, you know how to speak to them.
Yeah.
And I know for sure that they are not super enthusiastic doing them by themselves. At least most of the
But then
CTOs.
marketers on that.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes. Okay, let's do the one
You
front
go-
and then the back here.
If you're okay, I can go first. I would like to hear your advice on negotiation and pricing and retainers or any contract, details that we could use to protect ourselves as freelancers. If I'm gonna talk about like a particular case, maybe me. I am getting started with freelancing. I don't have any packages yet. I have work with some clients, so I have been testing, different pricing, hourly or projects, and tracking my hours and all that. But do you have any advice for that?
I have a recent experience, just very quickly. The thing is, like, if you start and you try to sell a monthly retainer, it might be too much for the company to buy right away. So you might try to get in. You sell individual project, or you sell a project and you talk about hourly prices. I think it depends really on you and on the client. And then once you established a relationship, then you can say, okay, you can be transparent about this. Like, okay, you understand I work as a freelancer to provide some security to myself. I would really love to work with a monthly retainer. How does that sound for you? So for instance, in that way, but trying to sell the bigger package or the retainer right away, I think it can be sometimes a little bit challenging.
Yeah, contract-wise, I might not be the best person to ask because I have to say I've had very good experiences and that's not always the case. From my experience, most very large companies, they do have their own contractor agreements. So you can discuss with them kind of what you want there to be in there from your side. But oftentimes they have already quite clear rules on that. I think what is important is that once again, everybody is clear what is included, what is not included, and what you are charging for. And I think especially if you want to work with a packaged pricing, I think the more important a contract is, because then you can always be in the contract that says this, right? And I think that is going to help a lot. I have also hired freelancers myself, and then also for me, if I pay them project based, I appreciate if the contract is very clear, this is included, this is not included, because I know them, I know what the rules are also as the person hiring, as well as the freelancer. So
I want to echo that what Jessi said about what is not included in your package, because for me, especially when I work with agency, when I read the list of things they don't include, that's often where it opens my eyes, because I was like, oh, I thought it was included, because it sounds to me that it's common sense to include this, and then they explain to me that no, video is included because it takes us a lot of time to do video, and I thought video includes video.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like, the list of what not included is very important to clarify. But
Can you give us an example, like examples of what you are like as not included, for instance?
I think revision is something really good. For example, that I provide 2 rounds of revision, and anything more than that, then you pay per hour, for example.
Or also like, I think with the video, like for social media, because now it's like a standard, you need to have like subtitles in the video. And you think, oh, by default, like you're a professional, you would know. But then actually in some cases they'll be like, oh, actually no, it's not included. Like, you need to pay extra for the subtitles.
Yeah.
Well, like in my head, maybe I would assume, well, it's common sense. They must be there for social media.
or
So,
I'm not sure which industry or like what your specialty is, but like I do blog posts, and then sometimes clients are like, oh, well, now we need visuals, and I'm like, yeah, well, I don't do, like, I can do visuals, but it's gonna cost extra, you know, or like for example, for my blog posts I charge extra if they need a keyword analysis, because that's my time that I have to spend on it.
Maybe we go to the next question.
Hi, my question to all of you is, actually there are 2 parts to it. One is that I am a prospect freelancer. I haven't started my journey yet in this space, and I want to get started. So are there platforms, while you briefly mentioned 3 of you in the beginning that, you know, there is LinkedIn and then there is one more portal where one can use to get started. But considering that I still don't have a very good grasp on the language, that is Finnish, and English would be the first kind of projects that I would be, you know, I would be able to take on. Then which are the platforms apart from Upwork? You know, I'm sure you must would have heard the name of Upwork, but which are the other platforms that can be explored? That's one. Secondly, I come from a communications background, wherein I was doing a lot of internal and external communications, and external communication and internal communication said to be a very integral part of any organization. So not necessarily a lot of projects are, you know, given outright. So what can be the other alternative streams, which I can explore as a freelancer? So yeah, thank you.
Maybe on the platforms, definitely if you're not yet, join the awesome marketers.
I am very much in that space.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I'm not just saying that, yes, because we're here for this, but I have gotten a lot of clients from there. Just people being like, hey, I need somebody who's German speaking. I'm like, that's me. You know, it's great. I did also, when I started out, I also worked on Fiverr, and I did get some clients there. In my experience, long term, just the pricing competition is too big for the fact that you work here in Finland and you have to pay a Finnish living cost. So it is gonna get like hard to make enough money on platforms like this because you're competing worldwide. Unless you're like offering something that's very specific to like the Finnish market where you could charge Finnish prices, so to say. And yeah, I don't know, did you have recommendations for like platforms?
well, I wouldn't pinpoint the names, but I've definitely seen some of the agencies or consultancies having those like open calls for like freelancers to join their pool.
Yes.
And then if the agency doesn't have an in-house expertise, then they can always outsource it to the people from their pool. But then I've definitely seen those consultancies, but I wouldn't remember the names right now. But then maybe afterwards we can do some communication about that. And then and then like of course like I don't know like your background like in terms of the industries where you've been working on the strongest, and then it would be like definitely like positioning yourself that like you're good like with this industries you've been working on and you're doing this and this like bullet points, then definitely like the agencies would like see
clearly like where you fit in for that.
How about PR? Because you mentioned
Yeah.
communications, because that's something that it's easier to buy if you're able to show results. Of course, we know external and internal communications, they are super important.
Right.
But if you think from the point of view of the client, everyone knows that PR is important. Most of them don't have time, they don't know how to do it well. So maybe that's something that you could maybe start with and then move.
So is there an opportunity to work as a freelancing space
Yes,
in the PR
absolutely.
domain?
Yeah.
Especially
And yeah,
Yeah.
if- yeah, sorry.
Launch, especially around lunchtime. Sorry, I
Yeah, no,
come from
go
in-house too. When you like, there's a launch coming, or maybe announcement for like what's the name, like when you receive investment. Yeah. So the
But
company
will
obviously
media become a challenge there, considering that I don't know the language?
No, the thing is, there of course, there are companies that are they do it in Finnish, but there are also international companies, and there are also, for instance, in the startup scene, there are companies that they use English as their official language. So, or one option also is to make the list of the PR agencies that are here and contact them and say like, okay, I'm freelancing. This is my specialty. If they would be interested in having you in their pool.
My personal sharing with you is that I don't speak Finnish. I've been here for 10 years. I've been working in marketing for more than a decade. I don't speak Finnish. I don't plan to learn Finnish for my career because that's not my niche. My niche is global marketing. My niche is global audiences. I work in global teams, so I would never compete against Saila, who is a native speaker in Finnish. I would never be able to compete against her selling to Finnish companies. And that's how I teach myself. So if you want to consider as well, that is it worth spending a few years to learn Finnish to
It's
compete
still
against Saila?
painful.
or highlighting your niche in English in the industry or the market that you have more experience.
I don't speak Finnish either. And it's never been a problem. Like no client has, but you don't speak Finnish. It's like, no, because that's not the markets I work in.
Hey, I got a question. With the advent of artificial intelligence, which is doing a lot of agents, development of the AI agents, which do two things. One, the content generation, the agent can do a lot of content generation. Secondly, they are trained on very high quality data because the marketeers typically push out data in the public domain to recommend or highlight their brand. So these models are trained on this data, and if you go to ChatGPT and ask, like for my product, and give the context of it, they will give you multiple ideas on how you should position your product launch or brand, etc. My question is, with this AI thing, do you think the agency business will get massively impacted on the negative side?
I was trying to stay away from the AI topic because because I know there's going to be a whole discussion by yourself.
There is a marketing in-house, there is the agency, and then there is the freelancer. So the in the past, what was the practice was that of course the marketeers cannot do everything, so they have an agency, and agency also cannot do everything because their hands are full sometimes, or the cost or whatever. Then you have the freelancers. So this is one structure. But AI is disrupting a few things. So one, it has a very high quality data gathered worldwide, and it keeps training itself on the latest information bits of the market. It scrapes the World Wide Web. So you have very high data, high quality, like high quality bot, which understands things. Then it processes all that information and summarizes all of that to a marketeer who is working for let's say a company. So he has a very good solid start so and then he can the agents are the next level. The generative AI is the next level, where it can write text, create videos, of course not the same standard as maybe some other, and then also do a lot of magical stuff. So if a marketeer sitting inside a company who has all the adequate tools from Microsoft or whatever, Google, then I think he's 50% road is the 50% path is covered. So therefore my question is, do you think the agency business will get massively impacted, like from the negative side?
That's a good
Because
question. That's a
or
good
will
question.
it be able to adjust itself or adapt itself? Because it is not true also that, I know in the tech industry, there's a lot of hype when something new comes
Yes.
up. And when things settle down a bit, people realize that, man, in the end, human beings are human beings, and all machines create a new set of problems and issues.
Yeah, the
So-
thing
so-
is that's a super interesting question, and let's see how if we are running out of time. But just a few points. Because I've been like studying this, and I heard some speeches about this, and different people predict in different way. One thing is, of course, it's going to change how companies work, agencies, freelancers, all of us. With the short term, I think it's just going to speed things up. It's going to do some things that you've spent hours and hours doing yourself. You can do with AI, and but in the long term, I don't know. Being honest, I don't know how much is going to change. But most likely, there's going to be something that's going to require, or people are going to. People want to see more authenticity because of AI, because of all generic shit. It can be good, but it's still rather generic. To a certain point, you have AI influencers, you have all this. So there is going to be an increasing need or request for like the real deal, the raw authenticity. So that can be then basically the competitive advantage when you compare agencies and AI. And this is not only my view, but basically people that have studied the phenomena and they're trying to forecast what's going to happen.
Yeah, so I think just to recap on that one, that it's like we do marketing. Doing marketing is being different.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and being authentic. I think that we have time for one
I want
last
to talk about
question.
AI.
Yeah, so how about we take one last question and then we can break, and then you can of course come to our speakers after the official part. I feel like people can use a bit of a break after an hour of discussion. So maybe Carol, if you want to ask your last question to conclude our discussion today.
Yeah, it's a quick one. I was just thinking, like you mentioned industry before, for like on the side of the freelancer, or even like the consultant. Is it wise to, so you have your niche in what you do, but is it wise to pick a niche in industry, like which industry? Because I'm just thinking it must be absolutely exhausting if you're hopping around from industry to industry, like to write content. So you need to research it, you need to learn about this industry, that industry.
I feel like if I can add to that, because as I said, Megan, I work with 5 to 7 clients, and it's a spectrum because some of them, they don't need me all the time. So like some months I might have like 5 clients, other months the client that just needs me every once in a while reaches out to me. And I can already tell you, I have never specialized in an industry. I have never specialized in B2B. I have never specialized in B2C, B2B2C. I've done everything. And the thing is, that's my preference. Like, I really enjoy that. I really enjoy learning about different industries. I'm a very curious person. I love I have one client that sells trailer covers, okay? And that's like not an industry that most people would be like, ooh, wow, sexy. But I'm like, yeah, like actually, like, yes, you need a cover for your trailer. What does that mean? Like, what if like it's winter? What if like wind is coming, you know? And then I have clients who do like charging for electric cars, right? Which is completely different. Then I have a client who does programming for robots in manufacturing. That's very, very different. And like Jubila, for example, they're a recruitment company. And like one of the things that I've realized for me personally is I enjoy that. Like I enjoy jumping between these things. It's like tickles my brain in a way that is like nice. But it's also important that then I think you set kind of clear boundaries when it's like too little. Like I have kicked out clients that were too small. Like I've said, sorry, I can't work my way into your industry if it's
10 hours a month. Like it's not enough for me to like work my way into your industry. But yeah, I know everybody always says like you have to niche down and you have to like find your, you know, and it's always kind of gone against my instinct. I've always been a generalist, and even though I fall officially under the content category, that like I do way more than just content. And you know, I feel like it's important to be honest with yourself. What is my need? Because for some people, they want to work their way into one industry, or they want to work their way into just B2B, and they want to do this really, really well, you know? So I think just like, if you're a freelancer, you just like be honest with yourself what works, and test it out, try it out. Like, it's also nice.
Thank you so much, Polina, Saila, and Jessi, for sharing your insights with us. We really appreciate it. Let's give a really big round of applause to our